Welcome to Rotten Rotators with Forrest.
And Bryce, and we're here to ruin your favorite movies, TV shows, and video games.
This week we ruined Dune.
Dune. Not the original Dune, not the book Dune, not all the other Dunes that have been out there, but 2021 Dune. Let's go.
But yeah, I liked it a lot. So we have
Uh,
differing opinions, somewhat.
well, we're not supposed to know that. I just accidentally revealed that before we started today.
No, I mean like
Um,
you can still like it and not like love it, you know.
yeah, my dad roasted the shit out of me because I went and talked to him and he was like, yeah, like because I don't know what it was. I think I was googling something and I was like, bro, did you know there was like Dune before? And he's like, yeah, like it was like super popular. Like they made like three of them. Like it was so cool. And yada yada. And it's on HBO. Like
Yeah.
if I cared enough for the Dune that I watch now, I'd have been like, I like to rewatch this. But I did think it was funny. Have you ever watched the original like Dune series or anything like that?
No, no.
So you know the gadget where they um turn their body shield on.
Yeah.
So think about like in your graphic world and your editing, like the video, like say like like when Matt had to like edit out the fly out of like that whole like
Oh yeah.
like the little box around it and all that shit,
Mm-hmm.
and like you're trying to like match. That's what it was. So it's like it's just this like box that looks like they're trying to like edit something around it. And it's just this just god awful like graphic box that like
Yeah.
is like it made them look into Minecraft people. Like it cubed them. Like their body was all cubed,
Nice.
and I was like, I low key wish they would have kept that for the remake. Would have made it more interesting.
Okay. You're peeking a little bit just so you know. Like
Yeah, I got you.
but I think I never heard of Dune at all until this one came out. Like the fact that there's an old one, I didn't learn until like way after I actually watched this one, and I'm guessing it was pretty not great. But for the time, it may have been good, you know. But
Because this one isn't that great. That's the reason why.
I don't know. I liked it. It set up a lot of good plots and lines. So, um, but then some people died that I didn't want to die, which we'll talk about later. Um, but a lot of good actors were in this. I like that. There was a lot of really
There's a
good actors.
tremendous amount of actors that were. Yeah.
Um, and I thought that was nice. Um, but I mean, it's really a setup movie, right? It's not really a main storyline movie.
Yeah, like I think the next one's gonna be like super action packed, so that'll be kind of cool.
Right.
And that's another thing that I would say was like the last trilogy of Star Wars. I saw this and it I saw it so well in the last trilogy of Star Wars that I've now looked for it in movies that I'm currently watching.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt that same way where um, you could tell every fight piece was choreographed to the T. Like they were dancing, they were not fighting. It was dancing.
Yeah.
I mean, just how dramatic the whole 9 yards. Now, I mean, uh, Jason Momoa's like final fight scene was pretty cool.
That's
But
pretty cool. Yeah.
like when you had like the groups like going at each other, like it was literally like dance moves that they were like you could tell it was like 100% choreographed and it wasn't like it just I don't know. I just really not liked this movie whatsoever.
But I think I liked the fact that there's like different houses of people and that they all serve under this empire basically. And they basically say we'll do what the empire says no matter what. Like we're just kind of it's kind of like if the empire won in Star Wars. But we haven't learned much about this empire or the emperor or anybody yet. We just kind of know that they all serve them and whatnot.
Yeah, which is like he knew he was gonna die, so like I just really don't understand why he's like, I'm just gonna make the suicide mission. He's like, but we're gonna unite the people, and then he just ended up not uniting the people. But um, I think there's a lot of parallels between Star Wars and I don't know if the books were written before or after Star Wars or if Star Wars, peered off of it. But spice running, like
Yeah, it's true.
100% just drugs. Like that is what they're excavating is heroin. Like,
Yeah.
and the fact that they're just calling it spice running like Star Wars does, like, and that's the funny part is that I low key did not know what spice running was at first, and then I don't know. I think I just did like a deep dive in Star Wars and realized that spice running was literally just drugs.
Hmm.
Like they're running
Drug
drugs throughout the
runners.
galaxy. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think they did a good job of like setting up like they didn't have a lot of time to do it, but they set up a lot about like
Not a time. There's
Paul
3 hour movie almost.
and his father, and like gave that a relationship before like his dad dies, and like I think they did a good job of like putting like a little bit of time towards it, but not so much that it like took over the movie. Um,
Like you knew the connection. You felt the connection. I
right, you
mean, it
felt the
was
connection, and like when he died, you're like, fuck, like that was
yeah.
terrible, like, and like plus he's a good actor, so I was sad when he died. Um, but the Duke came in and like he was basically like he took over after the Atreides is what their house name is, and they came in after the Harkonnens were there, and the Harkonnens were evil, terrible people to the Fremen who lived there. And they basically treated them like slaves and like made them do whatever they needed to do, fought them, killed them, whatever. They didn't like them, they didn't want them there, even though it was their planet. And so spice basically is in the air all the time and like is constantly around, and so it can kind of change your anatomy. And it has changed the Fremen's anatomy somewhat over time. Like their eyes are different colors, and they can withstand being in the desert a little longer. And like, of course, they understand the desert better and the world better, and all the things that come with it. But it also has changed their anatomy somewhat.
Yeah, and they're cool looking.
Yeah, and they're kind of the rebels, right? They're fighting against like
Star Wars.
these Empire pieces that come in and take over and like treat them like shit. But then the Atreides come in and they treat them right, and they're like, "Hey, well, we're more important. You're more important than getting the spice." Like they have a moment where like spice drill or whatever it is breaks down, and they go and
That's
he
probably my
says,
favorite scene.
right, he's like, "We got to go save those men on there. Like we can drop some weight off of this, losing this, and this. Let's go get them. Put this many on each ship, and we'll get out of here." Um, his son wanders off like a dumbass, but that's not important. Basically, they get everybody out, and they see that he's like actually giving a shit about them, and like instead of just being like, "Oh fuck it, whatever." If they die,
He
they
had
die.
some Master Chief Cortana vibes. His son did
Yeah,
when the rampage is going on,
yeah,
which is exactly what I thought. But yeah, so like you always see like these people that like talk a big game, because like he had brought the Furman in and was like, we're gonna treat you right and all that stuff. But there's a difference between like saying something and actually doing something, and I
hmm
think that piece right there showed that um, he gave a shit and that he was going to, do whatever he needs to do um, to take care of his new home, essentially,
hmm right.
his new world.
And so we hear earlier on that Duncan Idaho is going to talk with the Fremen and try and get them to understand who they are, learn some information about them, kind of discuss peace with them and like what they can do to make things better between them. Since they're coming into their world and they want to live with them and not against them, basically. And so he comes back and he brings their leader with him, and basically he says like, "You should leave because this is our planet and we live here. We lived here forever. Y'all are just visitors. Like we don't need you here." And he basically says, "I have to be here. The Empire says I have to be here. I'll harvest the
And we don't
spice,
want
but
the
I
Empire to strike back.
right, Empire will strike back. You know that, right?" But basically, he's like, "We want to live peacefully with you, and we'll do whatever we can. We won't bother you or where you live or anything like that. We're just gonna mine spice and give it to the Empire." And which beforehand, I guess they were treated like shit, obviously with the Harkonnen. So it's a whole
Yeah,
different
like
ball game.
um, totally two different worlds.
Hmm.
Um, and I really liked what he stood for and just the whole 9 yards on that piece. Because then like it was so funny. So like they were going into land and I saw the palm trees and I think it's with my grandpa living out in Arizona and stuff like that that I know that palm trees are not native to desert areas and that they need an absurd amount of water. to survive out there. And same thing with like Las Vegas and stuff like that. Like it's just buckets of water that they dump in
Mhm.
there. And I saw that and I was like, what the hell? Like they are on a desert. They are on Tatooine. Like there is no there is no water source well enough to feed these palm trees that are just like out in the middle of
Mhm.
nowhere. And so I did like it when like he goes up to the Furman and Furman's like, this drinks as much as 10 humans a day just to keep one of these alive. And
Mhm.
um, I'm glad that they
Right.
showcased
Mhm.
that a palm tree does not belong out in the desert, and that
Yeah.
there was a reason.
Right. That was kind of a cool piece, like I didn't know that that was actually how palm trees were, but like the fact they kept it in there, was cool.
Yeah.
Um, and so I guess Paul, running back to the beginning, Paul is part of this group in a way. His mom was a part of it. Um, I can't remember the name of it. It's a really weird name, and I'll
It's
butcher it if I say it.
Benny something.
Okay, but
Poltergeist something. I don't know.
basically they have visions and they can see the future possibly and a few other things. And they can use the voice, which is this thing that controls people when you use it. Um,
Also known as the Force.
similarities. Um, but which is cool. But throughout the movie, he sees a lot of visions and like what's to come or possibilities of something that's going to come to happen. Um, but it's kind of weird, we don't know a lot about it yet. It's kind of an introduction of like what it is, and not so much kind of like the whole movie is. It's a lot of introduction pieces to where it's like I want to know more, but I don't, and I don't have the resources to know more. But
Yeah, it's 100% like he's half, whatever this order is, which is it's odd because it's like they're a different group of people. Like you or I wouldn't be able to do it because the sun is there. He somehow, because of the bloodline of some sort, and,
hmm yeah,
and you really get to see that when he gets taken into I think it's what Mother Reina, and then he gets thrown to the chair just by her speaking, and you're like, what the hell?
hmm
Don't
yeah,
ever use that voice on me. And then like he puts his hand in the box, and you can see how much power that they truly possess. Like they're like it's almost like Merlin, to King Arthur. Um, he's able to, magic and whatnot to be able to help them out. So they're like a third party, but for some reason they reside, with one kind of nation
yeah,
type deal, and go for that, which is kind of cool. I mean, I'm hoping as he learns how to use the voice that it'll dive a little bit deeper on the second movie.
yeah. Um, but sadly, the Atreides rule on this planet is very short lived. If I had
Extremely
to
short,
guess, it was like maybe a week. Um,
shorter than Jeffers.
yeah, true. So they hire basically a legion of hired mercenaries to come in and fight for them, and they're supposed to be like the best fighters in the galaxy or whatever you want to call them.
And Tatooine turned to Hoth because it had a generator that supplied a shield for them all. Sorry,
but
sorry. That's my last Star Wars reference. I
yeah,
promise.
so like they came in and just slaughtered everybody. I'm not sure of very many that survived, other than Paul and his mom got away because they were kidnapped and were going to be thrown in the sand and left to die. Because they didn't want to get the truth serum basically on them from the order we were just talking about. Um, so there's also these giant sandworms on this planet. We forgot to mention.
SpongeBob reference there.
That are
It's
pretty deadly and just go to wherever there's sound or motion or anything. Um, so being out in the desert out there is really dangerous.
so okay. So I talked about choreographing. So I'm just such a negative Nancy today. I apologize for that. So I talked about the whole everything was choreographed in the war part.
Uh-huh.
So then he spends this whole section of the movie about practicing how to walk like a Furman. and
Mhm.
how to have like the staggered walk, and it makes it such a, like an understanding that like this is how you'd avoid, the sandworm or whatever they call it in SpongeBob.
Mhm.
Um, and so he goes out there. They get out of the ship. They get out of the tent and everything like that. And he's like, "All right, mom, we have to walk like this in order for us not to attract the worm." And so they do it for like half a scene, and then it pans out to something else, and then it pans back to them, and then they're just running up, like they're not dancing or anything. Like it was just such a shit moment that like I don't know how it was not caught to have them do
Mhm.
their little the sand walk dance move, but they were literally just running up the hill and down. It's like you spent all this time for literally nothing because I don't know.
Yeah.
I had so many problems with this
Yeah, I
movie.
didn't
It
even catch
was
that, but um,
I got some weird shit. I'm sorry.
but yeah, then they end up running away from the worm because they were close to some rocks and they wanted to get in the rocks and
Tremors.
basically chases them all the way to the edge and then it stops. And like there's some Fremen there and they're like, "Oh, it stopped for him." But like um but basically like they're gonna kill him, but then they didn't kill him. They're like, "Oh, we'll decide what to do with him later. We'll take him with us." And
And then he ends up
then
turning to be Aang, the last Airbender, and just has all these ancestral instincts of fighting now.
um yeah, and then one of the guys is like, "No, I refuse to do this. Like, I want to fight him." Like, challenges him to like a duel or what do you want to call it? And they decide to fight. And then like he wants him to yield in the end, and like he can't let him yield because it's not part of their culture, and so he has to kill him. And it's weird because like earlier on he has a vision of this guy, and it's of him like telling him how to survive as a Fremen and how to be a Fremen and like all these things. And then he ends up killing him, and it's like, was that how that vision came out? Was him killing him because that was in a way teaching him how to become a Fremen?
And how
Um,
and how they survive.
right. So like his visions aren't 100% accurate, right? So it's like showing a version of what's going to come true. So it's interesting because then you think about all those visions and you're like, I wonder what these different pieces mean then instead of just face value of what they are.
Yeah, I can definitely guarantee there's a conspiracy Reddit thread already started
Oh, there's a bunch probably, yeah,
about
for
every
sure.
single vision
Oh yeah.
that he's had. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, and that's with was it Chani? How he has the vision of her betraying him.
Right.
I wonder what it might be, like uh, a betrayal of words, like turning him in, or you know,
Yeah.
not because I don't think he'll die by her dagger, but I think he'll die by you know something that she does in the future. I
Yeah.
think
It's possible.
it's
As we've seen, main characters don't survive in this either. So
no, we got some Game of Thrones type shit going
yeah,
on in
we
here.
really do. Every character you've been introduced to, other than like three or four, are all dead. So it was weird because it was made that like Duncan Idaho was Jason Momoa, like that he was gonna be this like really important character, and then he just dies, and it's like, did he die or is he gonna come back?
But
Like,
that vision worked out to a T, and I hated that vision
right,
worked out to a T
which is
because
why maybe
I
it's not.
saw. Yeah, that's very true. Because I saw the hallway and I said, "No, this is not his last scene. It's not. I swear to God." And then, sure as
Mm.
shit, it was his last scene. I was pretty pissed.
Because it very well could have been like that's just what you thought happened. Maybe he actually got out somehow, and or maybe he just laid there until they left. I
Whatever we learned from Game of Thrones, if they didn't die on scene, they didn't really die.
don't know.
So
True.
they come back. They always come back.
Um, but I mean, I'd like to see him come back. And I think that like the deaths were really well like
Oh yes, like
done.
the Duke's death was probably my favorite death. Like,
That was really cool.
didn't want him to die, but I
No,
thought
no, no,
his
not at
death
all.
was definitely my
Mhm.
favorite out of all of them.
And the doctor's betrayal was kind of sad too because like
Yeah.
you could tell that like it's a doctor that's been with him forever and like he's helped his family for a long time and he's like I had to do this. My wife was in danger. Like I'm sorry. Like I really care about you. I sent for your son to be safe and all these things and but in the end he just ends up getting killed
In the
anyways.
end, it doesn't even matter.
True. Um, but he gave him a tooth, a fake tooth that when he bit down on it, it would release poison
Some fucking Nazi Germany type shit.
and he could breathe it out into the air to kill everybody around him. Um, and like that was crazy because he's like, you're gonna be paralyzed, but you can still breathe. So just breathe it out all over this room. And that was a really cool scene, like really well done too. Thought it was
Yes,
bullshit that that dude survived like that, but like
that worm fucking weirdo some
the
bitch.
Baron dude, yeah.
But I mean, all of his high council. I mean, everyone that would
Oh yeah,
advise him to do things are dead.
they're all dead. Yeah,
And he's in that fucking vat of fucking gross, whatever the
goop.
fuck that was,
Yeah,
goblin goop. Just sitting there like his face just
not ready yet.
yes, yes. It's fucking stupid.
Yeah, it,
Um,
yeah, it's a cool scene, really cool scene.
yes. Um, it was yeah. I was probably one of my favorite deaths, and I felt because I was like this guy's bad. He's obviously like really bad and just a piece of shit. So as soon as like he told the doctor like, "Oh, I'll have you join your family," like I
Yeah.
knew,
Oh yeah,
that's what sucked that
dead. Yeah.
because he's the reason why it fell. Because
Right.
he lowered the shields, he allowed the
Hmm.
fucking mosquito nanobot
Right.
type deal to come in, so they
Hmm.
would have survived, or at least a little bit. But he did all that just to have the whole fucking place ruined.
Yep. Sucks. But I mean, I thought it was a really good movie. They set it up really well for the next one. They didn't give too much away in this one to where it was like I've seen a lot. Maybe they don't have a lot left. And I'm like I'm excited to see what they do in the next movie for sure. So, and who's alive at that point? I guess.
Well, whoever's alive in the beginning won't be alive at the end. I can tell you that.
True. Very true. That we know for sure.
But yeah,
But I mean, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Um,
I dozed off a few times, quite a bit.
yeah, but I'm excited to see the new one whenever it comes out. See if it's as good as the first one was, and if it actually like has some action and some important
It should. I
pieces.
mean, that's normally how those movies work out. Is the first one sets out, the second one, kind of,
Yeah,
you know, builds out and does all that other stuff. But
true.
I mean, they did. I mean, they did set it up, to hopefully have the second one to kind of just all kind of come into a pretty cool, solid battle. But Dune was made in like what was it, 2018, 2019, so it's been put off quite a bit with COVID. So I'm hoping that everyone still comes back to
Yeah.
shoot.
Also, beautifully cinematic. Like the scenes are like
There's a lot of
beautiful shots
sand. There's
the whole
a lot of sand.
time, but like it's shot so well. Like it's beautiful the way they did it. Like it's amazing.
I was just upset a
Um,
ferment didn't go like the Tuscan Raider.
the Sand People. They also walk in line to hide their numbers. So,
Yep.
um, but but yeah, I mean, like a lot of similar to Star Wars, but it's supposed to be like a space sci-fi trilogy. So what do you want, you know?
Space Cowboys.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think
I think there's a
it's
budget
pretty good.
there, and that's what I like about it. So
Oh, for sure, yeah.
hopefully they see how bad they fucked up this one and maybe do pretty great next one.
I mean, cinematically alone, like the the way they shot it was worth watching that part. So
I do enjoy like the helicopters, like the mosquito and
yeah,
stuff
those
like,
are
or not the
cool.
mosquito, dragonflies,
The
but
dragonfly like ships,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And they had a creative hand in like all the different like worlds and the machinery and stuff like that. It was all really cool. So I also enjoyed
yeah,
that. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that wraps it up for this week. Go into our link tree, which is going to be in our bio, and I'll actually get it linked up into the comments currently. So if you're watching it in one way and you think that, hey, I should probably try to watch it in a different way, or I'm on the road this week and I can't watch the video, uh, then we are there for you. We're on anywhere that you'd probably get a podcast. And then vice versa, you're like on the road today and you're like listening to us and you're like, man, I'd really like to
Watch it.
watch it because I'm home this week. Sorry, I was trying to get the thing linked at the same time. Because I'm home this week, so maybe you know, maybe I want to sit down and watch it. So we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. We don't have a schedule for Twitch, but if you do catch us on Twitch, we're there. They don't, keep the VODs there, so um, it's pretty much you just watch it there,
Hmm.
or just go to Facebook or YouTube. Exact same show, in all three
Right.
places. So you don't have to worry about that. And then it's got if you want to create your own podcast, we do have a cool thing that with Buzzsprout that you go in and use our referral code, then you'll get I think it's what a $20 Amazon gift card.
Yep.
And you'll show support to our show at the same time. So that's pretty cool.
Right.
Save money with Honey. So if you want to install Honey on your browser and you do your normal shopping and whatnot, you can go ahead and click that and show support to the show and save money while you're shopping. It automatically coupons things out. So if you're out there, Black Friday shopping and whatnot, you can have Honey installed and you might be able to get a better deal. Uh, and then Norton Security. I think all the paid versions you get somewhat of a discount with us. It just depends on what you go through. So we're also there on Linktree. So it shows support to the show and it shows appreciation. And we also have all of our Twitch streams on there. So come join us on that side.
Yep.
Did I miss anything or anything like that?
Um, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, we also have historical Rotators.
That's what I
Um,
missed.
over same place where you get all your podcasts. We do weird, interesting things in history people forget about or don't know about. Recently we went over Roanoke, the potato, New Atlantis. Really short, terrible podcast, but it's really fun.
I liked it. I thought it was a great one. Stop.
We just
I thought
recorded
that
it,
was.
so it's yeah. Um, but like a lot of them are really cool stories that you just wouldn't have heard of in school or anything. So it's the stuff history left out, and we're just kind of bringing it back to life. Um, but yeah, I mean that one's really fun. We have a lot of fun with that one, and we are really passionate about that one because it's really something we care
Yeah,
about.
it's a lot of fun. This week, we review. I mean, with Rotten Potatoes, I mean, we review movies regardless if one or the other one doesn't like. I mean, granted, for the
Right.
most part, we do like the movies that we're watching and
Hmm.
talking about. But historical, I think we are so passionate about every single one of them. So
Yeah.
it's a lot more fun over there, and I think
Right.
uh, you should join us.
But yeah, I think that that's about it. But tune in next week and we'll spoil something new.
Adios. I'll end it.